We are
We're
on.
up, Ryan.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Welcome back, everyone. Hello. Say hello to the audience. Don't be shy.
Sure. I'm
Well,
having some
I just got an update for one of your videos. I know, and an update for my own video. Cool. Don't know why I'm getting an update for my own video.
I made a video recently. We were talking about current events recently about the Cubs. Kicked out a fan for live for doing the OK symbol. A CIA agent coming forward saying that Melon Moreau, who supposedly committed suicide, was actually murdered. He's coming forward in his deathbed, coming out and saying it now, which all these years, 7, 8 years old. So isn't that quite interesting?
Yeah, oopsies on that one.
It should have been sooner, but oh well.
But okay, so one of the things that we were just currently talking about was this mass censorship that's going on Facebook, and we both find this intriguing because let's see who are the people that the list of people that got banned off of Facebook.
Recently was Paul Joseph Watson, who he's a snarky conservative, but he's not violent. But they're labeling him violent. Maya Olympiopoulos, which he's known for just being controversial. Alex Jones, Laura Loomer, and then also they also had a what's his name again? Fuck, it's on the tip of my tongue. Black preacher, Nation of Islam, Louis Farrakhan also. But also they banned Gavin McInnes, and also they banned Tommy Robinson, and then a few other comedians for bullshit. And they also banned a few other accounts that were like anti-war left. And they're trying to get rid of all the centrists now. And I think what mainstream media is trying to do, they're trying to get rid of all the centrists or all the, civilized Democrats, the civilized Republicans, and they're trying to take over control over money and resources. So mainstream media could be on top instead of independent people like us, independent, voices like us that are online. Just reasonable people. And they're trying to let the extremists be extremists. And I look through, I'm not joking with you, like fucking the Autumn Waffen Facebook page is up. Richard Spencer, David Duke, they have pages, but they're not banning them. But they're not banning Antifa either. So it's like they're letting to my opinion, I think they're trying to set up a war between these two to cause more issues, to cause more problems, so they can make more money.
Because controversy sells.
Exactly. They don't like people who sit there and say, "Oh, the news is fake," or like calls out their bullshit, because then people won't trust them. And when people don't trust them, people are not going to watch them, and ergo, it's not trying to silence these voices. And soon enough, they're going to silence people who point out their bullshit.
What I find most intriguing about all of that is that, like, all those people that you mentioned, well, I mean, Tommy Robinson is actually not very right-leaning. He's actually kind of a liberal.
He's very workers' union kind of a blue dog kind of character.
Well, he's an old school like modern punk.
Oh yeah.
He was punching Nazis before it was cool. But what's really interesting about that is, out of all those names that you mentioned, not a single one of them are radical in any way, shape, or form.
Except for Louis Farrakhan. But
well, yeah, but I mean, is he as radical as something like Autumn Waffen?
No, not exactly. I mean, he doesn't say go out and punch people or harass people or go out and kill people, unlike Autumn Waffen does. I would say Louis Farrakhan's kind of like the black version of Richard Spencer.
Is he the leader of the black Israelites?
No, they're the brother. No, they're the Islamic Brothers of Islam over in New York.
Oh, the ones that support like Hamas and stuff.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So the black Israelites are separate from what the Islamic Brotherhood does. They're separate. And what the black Israelites are doing, they're taking the word of of Judaism and twisted it around and saying they're quote they're the chosen people because of supposedly, and they if you tell them on a map, say, look, these guys are from the Middle East, these are Israeli, they're not black, they're Arab, they will deny it up and down.
Yeah, the Middle Eastern, they're kind of like what does it matter what fucking color they are?
Yeah, exactly. But it's like saying to a white supremacist, Jesus is a Christian white supremacist, like telling them like, oh yeah, Jesus was actually was actually from the Middle East, and they're like, no, they're not. He's white. But of course,
Well,
out 1 year
as I pointed out in one of my recent videos, all the three Abrahamic religions are all Middle Eastern religions, including Christianity. It started off in the Middle East and it caught on in the Mediterranean, and then it spread throughout Europe by force. Originally, the European religion was that of the pagans. They were pagans. They were polytheistic.
Well, a lot of our holidays from England and the United States are actually originally pagan holidays. Like, you look at Christmas, you look at Halloween, and all these.
Christianity has stolen like, actually the 10 Commandments are outright taken out of the Book of the Dead from the Egyptian religion. Outright stolen.
That as well, but also you think about it, because Moses adopted a lot of the Egyptian culture, so he could have adopted their philosophy as well. So there's different philosophies.
Well, my take on it. To me, it's all mythology. It's all of its mythology.
Yeah, me too. Yes, mythology. But you get what I'm saying, that the way I see it is there's other cultures who spread around ideas and they traded. They talked about philosophy. They talked about different stories. Other stories went to different places. A lot of people traveled back in the day and spread these stories around. Think about it. Why do you think the Greek and Roman mythology of Medusa, the woman who turns people into stone? Why do you think that was spread across all the way till even to the Aztecs? Isn't it kind of strange? You have the same kind of story.
Well, that's because these stories are based off of natural phenomena, like the celebration. The things that Christians celebrate are actually from pagan religions, and that there are celebrations of like the equinoxes and the solstices, which have to do with the Earth revolving and the place of the different cosmos, astrology signs in the sky, and it depicts like the different seasons and the different years, etc., etc. Like age is used in biblical terms is referring to an eon, which is like I believe 1,000. Was it about 1,000 years, like a century, something like that? So that's really what they're referring to. Is like right now in the zodiac chart, we are in one aspect of it where we're stuck on one constellation, and we're slowly moving into I don't remember which one. Moses was the ending of Taurus and the beginning of whatever is next, and then we're entering in the age of Pisces.
Well, also the funny thing is that
so like
somebody brought up one time that the burning bush could have been marijuana, that he was going through a psychological level. There was a theory behind it. The burning bush was more like a pot bush.
Well, to be anointed back in Jesus's time, you would have been anointed with hash oil. That is true, but I don't know about the burning bush being a bush of marijuana. Nobody can verify that. In fact, there's a lot of things from the Bible that can't be verified.
Exactly, like the cloth of Torrent. People were going around saying it was supposedly Jesus and stuff like that, and we still don't know to this day that if it was.
Oh, they have found all kinds of different DNA on that cloth. They have found lipstick. They have found cocaine. They've found all kinds of shit in it.
Oh, it doesn't surprise me that someone like Scarface with the snort cocaine. It wouldn't surprise me.
But the thing that's astonishing to me about all these people being banned from Facebook is they haven't really done anything wrong. I mean, they're just regular, rational, right-leaning people.
Yeah.
And the thing is that like the extreme left and right are being left up on the Facebook platform, and it's like, okay, why is the extremes being left up?
Yeah.
But
Well, somebody brought up recently also about, the far left, the extremist left, is actually control of the mainstream, and they're in control of the narrative of the mainstream media. Like, you literally had Maxine Waters encouraging violence and harassment on Trump supporters, and she's not banned off of any platform. And that's some power there, that she can sit there and say that, go out and harass and bully these people, and make a crowd against these people and cause all this division. She's doing incitement of violence, and yet she's not banned for it. I mean, same thing with, there's a few other celebrities who said go out there and attack or shoot up the supposed school, over that Catholic school, over that issue, over the Lincoln Memorial that one time, about the coveting Catholic schools, and they're not banned at all. Kathy Griffin's not banned, and she was asking for doxing them. I don't know. I'm like,
weird stuff. Weird stuff.
They get a pass, but other people don't. Other people don't at all, and it's just fucked up. And I don't think it's fair. I think incitement of violence is not freedom of speech.
What I think is pure, utter bullshit is that you can be deplatformed, banned, whatever, for being offensive. Okay, being offensive is not incitement to violence. It's just, basically an irritation, being obnoxious, whatever. It's, it's just being crass, rude. So, it's like people forgot that there's a block button or a mute button, and they are so childish they don't even know how to use it. But what blows my mind, the thing that is so fucking frustrating to me, is that you can just offend somebody with something arbitrary and something you don't even know is offensive. They don't even tell you. It's just surprise, you're banned, you offended somebody. Like, okay,
you got banned off of you told me you got banned off of PlayStation Network because you were
well, but see, here's the thing that's really fucked up is like there's like a pedophile that's been nagging the shit out of me that has gone into really, really disgustingly explicit details about sex acts that I don't really want to hear about. I did not want to read that. I could have gone my whole life without reading that shit. And it's like, okay, this guy has clearly been to some illegal parts of the web and has participated in some very illegal activity, because transference of data as pertaining to like child pornography is considered a federal crime. Now, I can't prove that he's done that, but I mean, it's evident by just reading like what he has to say that this is clearly the case. And yet he walks freely. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, there's got to be somebody that this guy can be reported to, say like, hey, you need to pay attention to this guy's online presence, because he is probably like, well, I'm of the opinion, without a shadow of a doubt, but I'm of the opinion that he is up to doing things that are very illegal and for very good reason.
Danger. He's a danger to society. And the worst part is these tech companies just don't give a shit.
Well, and that's where I feel like, like I cried a little bit because there's like on his profile picture, there's a picture of a little girl in the background, and I teared up because I was thinking to myself, like, I feel like I failed her, because I feel like the only thing I can do is be a voice of opposition, and to me that feels like it's not enough. I feel like that there should be law enforcement involved in watching him and what he does. Because, I mean, honestly, like, what other options are available to me? I could report him to who? Facebook? Facebook isn't a legal, like, organization. What they're going to do is they're going to ban his account, and then he's going to create another one, and he's going to keep doing the same shit that he's been doing. It's not going to solve anything. That's where I take issue with it. It's like, okay, I think where our priorities are a little askewed, okay? Because I mean, let's say somebody comes to my any of my social media platforms and they go, "Fuck you, you fucking faggot." Okay, you know what? That's offensive, but I would take that 50 million times over if it meant that I could be assured that not another child was ever sexually exploited again.
And I agree with you.
And that's what I mean. Like, I think our priorities are a little off. If we're being worried about, like, oh my God, you're a trans person, they called you he instead of she, and that's a really big deal. Or you're a gay person and somebody called you faggot or AIDS needles or something. Oh, that's a really big deal. Or, you know, somebody used the N word. Somebody called you a kike or something about that, or said that, you know, Israel should be fucked or something like that. Like, all that is like, whoa,
Yeah.
we need
Well, you know, it was kind of funny. I accidentally called this one transsexual on accident. Like, dude. But I say dude to everybody, regardless if it's a guy or a girl, and I kept on repeating myself, like, look, I say that to everybody, regardless who you are.
Well, it's a colloquialism. It's a colloquialism.
Yeah. You say dude to everybody. It doesn't matter. It's what should I try to stop and say dudette? No, that just sounds really just, you know.
Excuse me, my bad. Dudette.
Dudette.
But I'm saying our priorities are a little off if people are concerned about these things that are offensive rather than things that are actually have a victim behind them. And I'm not talking about victim as in your feelings were hurt. I'm talking about victim as in like psychological trauma that's permanent or physical harm. And it's like there's nothing you can do. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it, you know, so what people said, you know, mean words online. That's the reason why we have a fucking block button. I had one issue with this one person, and I thought it was hot. I started laughing my ass off. I liked this one girl's post. It was like a dog doing tricks. The only thing I did was just like. She messaged me. Get this. This is funny. Don't like my stuff. That's kind of creepy. I start laughing and I'm like, so I like everybody's stuff on Facebook, you dumb bitch. It's like, if you don't like it, you can unfriend me.
Don't like my stuff. That's creepy.
And it just says, well, it's like, are you done whining? I'm like, you're the one whining because I just like one thing off of everybody else's Facebook because I have about like 3,000 friends and I see stuff in timelines and videos that I dislike. So you're nothing special, sweetheart. Fuck off. She posted my name on Facebook calling me an asshole and a complete sexist. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Well, see, and that's why I think, you know, like this ultra left stuff is hurting actual civil rights movements that have happened. And I think that they fail to realize how people are using some of the things that are put in place to protect minorities against minorities. And that really bothers me because it's like...
It does really bother me to the point that she's more worried about somebody liking her post compared to what's really going on with human trafficking, drug cartels. There's plenty of other things to worry about besides, oh, God forbid, somebody liked my post.
No, I mean, exactly. But think about like the type of, like, if that was like a major thing within, like, you know, the feminist movement is that, you know, like, guys are creepy, they're liking my photos. If that was like this glossed, like not glossed over, but, you know, like stapled in front of everyone's face, that was like their mantra. Like, how does that make like the actual movement itself for women to have civil rights and equality? How does that make them look?
It makes it look like they're fucking crazy. And
yeah, well, it makes it so you can't take it seriously. And then there's actual feminist movements that are still alive, that are legitimate, that are being looked over because of the ridiculousness. And it's like, this is hurting actual civil rights causes. And I think it's interesting to be like, I like doing this because you're right leaning and I'm a lefty, and we are kind of the antithesis of what they think should be. It's like, you guys shouldn't be able to talk and get along. It's like, well, we disagree on some things, but there's a lot that we do agree
We
and
can have a civilized discussion and be adults about it, and that's what we should be. I think the worst thing is the people in charge can't even do that or can't even compromise, and that's the sad part is you got both sides acting like a bunch of fucking children in Congress, throwing a hissy fit over a fucking wall, but they can't compromise on it. They sit there and say, well, and then there's some stuff I don't do like about Trump, but there has to be some middle ground, some way, some other.
That reminds me, your boy Ben Shapiro got owned.
When?
He got owned by this really, really ancient BBC anchor in an interview because Ben Shapiro was trying to debate him. And it's like, no, Ben Shapiro, sweetheart, you're in an interview. You're not in a debate. Calm down.
I gotta see that shit since you mentioned that.
I posted it on my wall. It's there. I posted the actual BBC interview, and I posted Thunderfoot's review of it, which Thunderfoot's review of it was quite hilarious to me. But man, when I watched the original, like the actual BBC interview, I just died laughing. I was like, oh my God, like, you want to talk about it? Like, he complains about triggered snowflakes. He was a triggered snowflake in that situation, and it just cracked me up.
Oh boy, I gotta check that out since you mentioned that. I never see him flip out. I know he talks really fast. He's a lawyer. He knows what he's talking about on certain subjects and stuff like that. And he's very biased on a very conservative level, and I completely understand that. But I gotta see this. I don't normally see him actually do something like that.
No, it reminded me of what you said, that you think he might be autistic.
he might have Asperger's, which, like, people who have Asperger's, they have this attitude like, I don't give a shit, but they're like super smart. But they have a certain there's a lot of problems they have.
Well, they tend to throw temper tantrums and fits when I mean, they become hostile easily when their views are challenged.
Yeah, basically. And I had that happen before I had a few friends who had Asperger's. They was like super smart, but I remember one time I got an argument with one of my closest friends who had Asperger's, and they got uber offended and punched a wall and walked off. I'm like, dude, I just disagree with you. Chill out.
But the thing is, you give them time, they calm down and they come back around. They're like, hey, like nothing happened.
Yeah,
usually
just like that. Usually that's the case. They don't hold a grudge usually. And it was kind of funny that I the one person I can sit there who actually can have more of a better debate. I give him enough credit for this. Steven Crowder, he does that. He goes on the streets and says, "Change my mind," which not very much people do that. I can never see Ben Shapiro do that. I don't think he has the patience for it.
No, probably not.
I remember one time he got in a cussing match with a student one time at college campus. It was funny. It was ironic at most. It was like, oh God. And he's such a button up, tight conservative that it's kind of odd that he would. Somebody messaged me shit. But he's very calm about it, because I remember one time I watched this one thing when he confronted somebody who was giving him death threats. He shows up at the bar, and the guy throws a beer in his face and beer all over him. The guy walks off. He follows him. Is like, "Are you going to take that post down? Are you going to take that post down?" Not swinging at the guy. This guy, Steven Crowder's like 6'4", and this short guy was like shorter, like 5'5". Followed him around, like, "Are you going to take that post down, or I'm going to sue you? I'm going to take that post down." And I'm like, holy shit, he threw a beer at you. I would swing at the guy. I would have went off on him and would have decked him on the face. Like, he has enough nerves to steal. Fuck, you seen that before, right?
No, I don't really. I watch Steven Crowder from time to time, just as like to see like a voice of opposition, but I don't really particularly. I mean, I saw his change my mind on the non-binary thing, and I was thinking to myself, I think I can actually formulate an argument for that.
Yeah.
And that would be that you would have to capitulate to the idea that it is a belief, and you are entitled to believe whatever. I mean, the United States grants you that freedom, is that you have the right to your beliefs. So you can believe that you're a potato if you want, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that it's true. Ultimately, though, we have separation of church and state. So whatever your belief or your dogmatic principle is, it has to be secularist, meaning that you can keep your belief and believe that you're a potato, but you do not have the right to enforce that belief on the population.
Yeah. And I definitely agree with that, because I mean, with China, they lock up people who are Muslim, Christian, Jew, and people who are in the Buddhist religion. They locked them up in concentration camps. And these whiny ass dumbfounded progressives who whine about, oh, I'm a potato gender and stuff like that, they're oppressing me. No, honey, they just disagree with your stupid lifestyle. You're not a potato. Get the fuck over it. They're not locking you in a concentration camp for what you believe in. It's just an opinion. Who gives a fuck? But no, they're going to throw a hissy fit and
Well, I've had to sit down with some younger people in their early 20s that are, homosexual, and talk about being oppressed. I'm like, because I've been alive longer than them. I'm like, no, I don't think you know what real oppression is, because I mean, it wasn't like back in the 70s and 80s, you could go to jail, I think, for being caught in a homosexual act.
yeah,
And you have cases like Matthew Shepard, and it's like, that was oppression. Somebody having an ill opinion of you is not oppression. That's not oppression.
it's kind of like when I was a kid. I would get nasty looks and I'd get in fights because of how I dress and kind of rude attitudes. But there's a difference between that and then what happened to Sophie Lancaster. That's real oppression, when she got beaten almost to death by a bunch of people, and just because over a dumb ignorant spat against how she dressed like. So I don't whine.
Vlad the Beat said, "Hey, what's up?"
What's up, homie? Ah. Who else is making comments?
So far, we only got 2 people, but
Hey, also, I was going to ask you a question. I showed you my favorite Game of Thrones character. You want to put him up?
Yeah, we can do that. I also do want to go over your fun little adventure. And what was it? Was it Instagram? What was it?
Yeah. Yep, Instagram. I was curious about the new app. Somebody told me about the new app, and I was kind of like, I'll try it out. Of all the life of me, I can never do drag queen makeup that good. That's the only thing I gotta say.
All right, so we're yeah, I know TJ Kirk did a video about this, but there you go.
There's my favorite character from Game of Thrones.
And I agree with TJ Kirk. I think they should have left it in. They should have left it in.
They should have left it in. Be part of the characters. He was my favorite character. He was there for a few seconds. Beautiful.
Now, this makes me want to go and play around on Instagram. Can anybody guess who this is? Oh, that's your boy there. Lothaire. Here's another. That's him. That's fucking him.
Some people say I look better as a girl. I'm not joking.
Like no joke. Like what the fuck?
Instagram's evil. That's what it is. It fucks with your head. I want to go on Tinder. I want to go on Tinder that way.
And so here's what is this eye thing that do you see how one of your eyes is like all bubbly?
That was a different app, believe it or not, and I was trying to test out the difference between the apps. That one's pretty good.
Is that one on the left actually you?
Yeah. Without my makeup, with the gray shirt. And my
fucking kidding me.
I was actually outside of a church. I called you one time and I said I haven't been into a church for 10 years, and that was like that 10. Yeah, that was that time I went over there.
Yeah, that's Lothaire that you're looking at. Vlad beats Chad.
What he said.
He said, "Oh wait, that's a dude." Yeah, that's what Instagram does to your photo. It was tripping him out. Like he was like, "Oh my god!"
I'm gonna joke with you. Somebody told me that looked like my ex-girlfriend Hillary, and I'm not joking with you. And that was weird.
Oh, we also have that picture. This is one of the pictures that got me in trouble. Debate me.
Yeah, over on PlayStation Network, you get banned for that shit. That's just fucking stupid.
I got banned for hate speech. Debate me.
Like he said he was making claims that you don't have any thumbs and stuff like that, and then you are useless and stuff like that. And you went back at him as a shitlord and just fucked with him.
He called me useless. He called me brain dead, and he said he was surprised I don't have that. He was surprised that I have thumbs.
Yeah, well, I remember back in Facebook, if they start shit with you, if you start shit with them and they start insulting you, then they have leeway to do what they want to.
So this was the picture that I sent him, and I said, "Come on, debate me."
You sent another picture to him also, or you don't want to show that just in case because of Facebook, of YouTube.
Well, no, I can show it, but this is from Kiwi Farms.
Oh my god, that's fucked up.
Yeah, so I don't know if people know what I don't know if people really understand what Kiwi Farms was meant to do, or what it, how why it, where it was, its origins are from, but it's like it's not really as offensive as it seems in the first place when you realize that like this is a unique archive of propaganda. But yeah. Oh, I do want to show we found this. Remember we were talking about like
oh yeah, about LGBTQ on different states, and they mentioned about my state as well because I think it's over cake or thing or something like over cake or bathroom privacy or something like that.
well, we were looking at like which states are like more accepting of like LGBT rights or something like that. So here it's clicked on marriage. And this is I think it's just so funny because like I don't think this is based on fucking anything because like like as we go through you're gonna see this. Okay, so marriage. Okay, clearly that's saying which states allow gay marriage and which don't, which to my understanding it was federally passed that they have to acknowledge in all 50 states. So it's weird to me that they're like, oh, the South just fucking hates gay people. They just hate
God, I hate
everything in the South, just bad. Sexual orientation. Okay, so it does give like a more detailed, because like at first like on the phone it was just like sexual orientation and looking at this map and it's like, what do they mean by sexual orientation? What are they talking about?
It depends on. Well, also you look at over in New York City, their laws are really strict. If you mispronounce somebody, your business can get shut down, and that's just fucked up because accidents happen. You know, if somebody doesn't like a business that bad, they can make a claim about it, a false claim about it. Oh, he misgendered me because I was actually born a male and they call me Miss, just in order to get their business shut down. So that could be one of those. It could be those certain laws in the certain states could be the factor there. You know.
Well, see, and even this map is misleading because it says states with non-discrimination protections based on sexual orientation. That would be all 50 states because exactly. Like
except for the Middle East, they kind of throw you off of bridges.
Okay, that's a different country. I'm talking about the United States. But in all 50 states, it's OSHA violation if you discriminate based on sexual orientation. So that's bullshit right there.
This bullshit.
So gender identity. Okay, so I don't really know what they mean by gender identity with these states highlighted, but then it has this up here. It says states with non-discrimination protections based on gender identity.
Well, that doesn't make any sense because New York City is not even highlighted. New York City actually has the most stricter laws against misgendering somebody. So that doesn't make any sense.
And then we have adoption, which I debunked this myself. I went and fact checked this. Kansas allows gay people to adopt. So that is bullshit. I love how notice in every single one of these, the South sucks. The South sucks.
Bias.
The South sucks. Adoption. The South sucks. Religious freedom. Oh, look at that. The South is way for religious freedom. and you went and looked it up. At your state, which according to this, according to this map, your state is actually more accepting of gay rights, or it has a higher percentage of LGBT people.
Yeah, it does.
Than the state that I live in.
Well, I look at the stats. I showed it to you that Kentucky was ranking, I would say, 6 on of gay and LGBT population. California was in it. New York City was California's number 1. I think New York City's number 2. Florida is way up there as well. But we were on the 5th, or I don't remember, it was 5th or 4th. I think we actually had more of a higher population of gays and LGBTQ. I mean, literally, downtown is nothing but a bunch of gay bars. It's nothing but a bunch of gay bars and just transsexuals. And we have a huge gay community.
And then Kansas City was what, number 30 or something like that.
Oh, yeah, way down.
Yeah, it was bad. I love everything in the South just sucks. And then, they're all about religious freedom. They hate adoption. They hate gender identity. They hate sexual orientation. They hate marriage. South.
It's just very biased because you look at different stats.
Support, and you have the level of support. And it's everything northern is okay. The middle is a little bit okay. South, the South is just a bunch of awful people.
I remember the whole gay marriage, debate.
Florida's cool, but everything else about the South is just shit.
Well, they actually had was the whole thing with the whole gay marriage thing when they first came to pass. It was only Kentucky I think it was over in Richmond with I forgot her name was, that was refusing to sign marriage license, and that was the only state that refused their marriage license. Alabama, Texas, and a few other. You never heard of those in the media about that. It was one person in New York City was refusing it as well, but he was a African American male, so they were concentrating mostly on Kentucky. I forgot what her name was. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
I think I know. It's on my tip of my tongue. You remember her name? I'm trying to remember her name was.
I know this is how the DMV thing, right? That you're talking.
Yes, it's about the DMV. It was only, and the worst part, it was only one city. You can go to the next city and get a marriage license as well, because I know in Lexington, people were getting married. Also, when that bill came across, everybody was getting married left and right. Literally, there was people getting married that I knew of on Facebook. Oh, we're married now. I'm like, cool, great, fantastic. I'm happy for you. That was basically it. And then you would hear about, I think it was over in Richmond or some small town in Kentucky, that there was one woman refusing it, and then she got all the headlines for it. But it was somebody I think somebody pointed out, there was somebody in New York who was doing the exact same shit.
Well, I think when you looked up the stats on LGBT, I think even Texas came before Kansas City.
Yeah.
And here on MSNBC's map, Texas, they're like, boo, Texas, boo. Look at the religious freedom on Texas. Boo, Texas, boo. Let's support. Boo, boo. It's like everything in the South is just this can't. I was thinking this can't possibly be right.
It can't be right because there's more gay people in Lexington, Kentucky compared to other states and like in the South or up north over in Ohio, Indiana, which is I think that was kind of odd.
Yeah, so MSNBC, we busted you.
We busted you.
We busted you. This is bullshit. This is not accurate. No. And I was surprised when we found it because I was like, I didn't think it would turn out that way, but no, we actually went and looked at the raw data, and it's like, what the fuck is this shit? Seriously.
Yeah, but you would think like Hawaii would have a high population of LGBTQ because
this one was what really busted me because I was like, I know for a fact that in Kansas City, a gay couple can adopt. I know that for a fact, and they have it right here on the map. Nope, they can't. They can't do it. Bullshit.
They can adopt in Kentucky, but it was for a while last year. There was one conservative in Congress was in the local Congress was actually fighting against it. It was only one person who was a Republican.
But here you have Kentucky, like, nope, they're in the South, they suck.
Right.
This isn't biased at all.
And I know you can adopt in Florida. I know you can adopt in Texas. And there's a few other states you cannot adopt, but but it doesn't surprise me.
I just that map cracks me up. Just everything south, it just sucks, and everything northern or western is all cool.
Wait a minute, was it like the south? Was it the closer to California over in I think not Minnesota, some other state? There was mostly a bunch of Mormons on Utah, and it said Utah, and it didn't say anything about Utah on there. So I'm kind of surprised about that as well. There are a bunch of religious nut jobs as well. So I'm like, really? There's a bunch of biasy on that.
The strange thing I think about like the Mormons is like they say that the darker in complexion, that includes like, I have like naturally black hair. It's like that would mean that I have a little bit of Satan in me. Fuck, so like your blonde hair, blue eyes, they're like the closest to God.
Oh God, that sounds like fucked up. They forgot people who live in Israel who, Bethlehem where Jesus was born. They forgot that place. Oh, God forbid. That motherfucker had a big nose and dark skin and messed up hands because he was a carpenter. And he was a mama's boy. You knew this.
Well, the parallels between Mormonism and like neo-Nazi philosophy are kind of strange because it's like, like Mormons are not allowed to like take drugs, right?
Caffeine. We're not allowed to.
Well, I mean, they won't even take like Tylenol or aspirin, to my understanding. But I mean, one of their favorite drinks, like one of the things that they can drink, is what they call Mormon tea, which is ephedra tea. You know what meth is based off of? It's an alkaloid from the ephedra plant. That's where we get ephedra.
I didn't know that. Sorry, I had to disappear for a little bit. Knocking on my door.
So
it's like, where's the ice cream at? It seems kind of odd that you brought that up in the first place. I knew a guy who was Native American who claims that, I'm against drugs, I'm against marijuana, I'm against alcoholism, but yet he has ceremonies with peyote.
That is one of the things that I feel like I'm missing because I do have Native American in me. So it's like I kind of wish that I could go to a Native American reservation so I could partake in using peyote. That sounds like a fun experience.
It does. I mean, I want to do it myself because I have heard so much about it, and my grandfather used to help run a reservation and was a maintenance man over there, and he lived there for the longest time. And he was a immigrant from Germany, from my mom, who was from my dad's side, but actually my mom's side. It was my mom's side that came from Germany, and they stayed in an Indian reservation to work there. Isn't that odd?
I was talking to my grandma. I found out that okay, I have German, English, Norwegian. I think it was Norwegian that she said, and Scottish and Native American.
Yeah. Oh, have you heard recently about the black metal community? The black metal community that they're getting persecuted, and they're getting their shit shut down, their show shut down because of political correctness.
Well, you do know that there's black metal groups that are rising up that are for National Socialism.
Yeah, I was mentioning that. Somebody mentioned that to me as well. But again, it's kind of like a few bad apples are ruining the bunch a bit. Just a few black metal bands are ruining it, ruining the image of black metal. And I'm not a black metal fan. I'm more of a industrial, Joy Division, heavy metal. I'm more in like the dark wave, bands like Bauhaus, Christian Death, goth rock, um, Skinny Puppy, Race in Black, more of that kind of style. But it just sucks that people who are such fans of music, of genre music, are getting fucked over because of a few bad groups.
Yeah, and I think there was several attacks on the goth community, but I think the goth community dodged them pretty well.
Well, the Death in June, the band Death in June, they used a lot of Nazi imagery in some of their album covers, but they weren't really Nazis at all. They were a bunch of drug head, hippies, long hair, gays. They were gay, and that doesn't fit with the ideology of Nazism. And it was supposed to be the reason why they were using those symbolism, because they were trying to portray darkness and this gloom into their music. Also, Killing Joke used a lot of imagery from the Soviet Union, and also from 1940s Germany as well. So, same thing with Roz Williams. With
Roz Williams, I believe that his first album, it even says in the slip of the first album, the Only Theater of Pain album, that first album that he produced under Christian Death was predominantly focused around the aftermath of World War II.
Yeah.
So,
and he was on stage holding swastika flags, neo-Nazi flags, and he was doing it only for shock value. He wasn't doing it to.
Well, did you know that Christian Death, the band Christian Death, has been protested by the Catholic Church,
Yep,
KKK, and neo-Nazis?
Yeah,
they have pissed all three of those groups off, and it's like
there's a lot of similarities between the Kakistan meme, Pepe the Frog, and kind of like Roz Williams and Christian Death, because they're mocking and making fun of neo-Nazis by putting the same garb and just acting like a fucking clown, and basically just shit upon the neo-Nazi party by mocking them. So it's kind of the same motivation.
Well, I've seen stage pictures of Roz Williams taking like neo-Nazi, like swastika flags, and like ripping them up and sewing and stitching them, and like, God, what a shit lord.
And there's a lot of stuff that what Marilyn Manson was doing on stage was very similar to what Roz Williams was doing. And, I like Marilyn Manson, don't get me wrong. I think he's a great musician, but he does copy off of a lot of like Alice Cooper. He copies off a lot of what Sid Vicious does, what Christian Death does, and Bauhaus does. And, he's good at doing it, but he's nothing original.
No. And I remember the whole Bauhaus debacle, like where Peter Murphy like had a smear campaign against him, where they were trying to accuse him of throwing bottles at the crowd, but then it came out that he was like, no, I was just trying to get everybody like hyped up and amped up, and people were throwing bottles at me, we were throwing bottles at them, we were trying to get them back into that,
Yeah.
Punk mentality.
Yeah. And it seems kind of funny that happened at the same time when they had, I think, was somebody from Cannibal Corpse tried to kill his next door neighbor and set his own house on fire. And he was on some kind of, I think he was on bath salts, and he was trying to attack his neighbor with a big huge fucking hunting knife, and he got arrested. He got shot in the leg by law enforcement. That was a fucking trip. You said there was a difference between, one time you talked to me, there was a difference between the OK symbol, how the meme culture does it, and what the white supremacists do. What's the difference?
It changes, but like it went from like this to like this, but this way I think would be more appropriate because you have the W before the P.
Yeah.
But I've seen like other symbols of something like this. I don't know. Like I said, they change it as soon as people become hip to what it is that they're doing. So it's constantly evolving and changing.
Oh.
As soon as people like recognize it. And
during the Cubs game, the guy got kicked out because of the OK symbol, and I think that's kind of ironic and stupid how even that, I think it was online publications and most liberal mainstream media realizes this just is a OK sign. It's just a 4chan joke. But some of these companies, these major companies like the Cubs, the baseball team, don't even know it's just a joke. They think it's actually a white supremacist symbol, and I'm like, what the fuck?
We can't say okay anymore.
Yeah. And there was like pictures all over online with the OK symbol of like the baseball players and the coaches doing the OK symbol. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then you have recently come up to news about Joe Rogan getting some hot water recently by mentioning, I think it was Foxy Phillips. I think that's the
Oh, we're going on to that whole thing where the trans woman like broke that that woman wrestler, like she broke her skull, and it's creating controversy because it's like you have to realize that there is a difference between a male who has gone through male puberty and like Blair White brought this up. She was like, there's different tiers. Like, I mean, she advocates for people not going through hormone therapy before they hit puberty, but she said, but it happened. So we have to be realistic about this. She's like, if somebody wants to join like the women's wrestling team who started, puberty blockers and hormone like HRT before they hit puberty, that would probably be okay. But if they've gone through male puberty and then transitioned, well, the effects of testosterone are irreversible, and their bone density is going to have more mass to it. Or they're going to have more muscle mass, or their hearts are bigger, their lungs are bigger. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, he's going through this whole controversial because he just sit there and said, well, he's actually she's actually biologically a man, and there's he simply said, he's like, I have no problem with transsexuals, but you have to realize when you're born a man, you're more biologically stronger than women. So that's actually fucking over actual women who actually are UFC fighters. That's actually against
actual. And Blair White actually showed like clips of female athletes saying, as soon as these trans women get up there, we already know that they're going to win. That there's almost no point in competing against them because they already win.
Yeah, and it's actually fucking over women who want to go into college, who want to get a scholarship. Is fucking them over. If they don't get first place and get a trophy for what they have done, they're screwed. They're out for a good education for life because somebody decides, supposedly, if they are or not a transsexual. I don't know.
Well, I like what Blair was saying. She's like, I think that it's important for them to be able to participate in sports, but what level of trans they're at should be taken into account.
and that's understandable. But at the same time, there's some people who just bend the rules in their favor. Some people use those excuses just in order to get free college. And somebody will play the system to their favor. It always happens. It always will, and it's going to happen that way. Sadly enough, that people are going to take advantage of that. Like recently, they had somebody who got sexually assaulted in a woman's restroom, and the guy claimed he was transsexual. But you look at the mugshot of the guy had a full grown beard and gray hair, and I'm like, no.
That happened a long time ago, I thought.
Yeah, it was. I think it happened recently, but it happened in. I think it happened in Canada recently, and they didn't take it seriously at first, and then after a while they started taking it seriously. And you mentioned this. You mentioned before that you wish some places should have separate bathrooms, not stalls, but like bathrooms. That's just one bathroom and one door, so you could have it like more of a private bathroom. And I kind of agree with you on that.
Well, most places already do. They have the executive or family bathroom, whatever, the other bathroom. So there's the regular bathrooms that are already there, which has the stalls and the urinal for the males, and the females it's just a bunch of stalls. But then they have like a bathroom that's just like a toilet and a sink, and you can actually lock the door. What I find funny about that is most of the people that use that aren't trans or anything. They're using it to take a shit because it's more private.
Yeah. I feel like where I work at, they have a family bathroom, but I go in there all the time just to use the bathroom.
Well, like I said, it's funny because everyone uses that bathroom to take a shit because of the privacy.
And I worked with somebody who was non-binary that, I would always call her she, and she didn't care, and she's like, I don't care. You can call me he or she, it doesn't matter. She wasn't a really offended snowflake about it. She just didn't really care.
That's the thing that a lot of people don't realize is like I know multiple non-binary people, and they don't care if you they don't care if you refer to them by their biological gender. They don't care. They're not offended by it.
She would go to the family bathroom, and she would call it a unisex bathroom. It's like, oh, I gotta use the unisex bathroom. Are you done with it? And when I was cleaning the unisex bathroom, I would clean it, and she told me, it's like, are you done with the unisex bathroom? Like, I look at it, I'm like, it's the family bathroom. So, well, I call it the unisex bathroom because I'm using it. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And I just like, okay, don't care. But yeah, I agree with you. I think they should have a third bathroom choice for everybody. But the problem is with smaller businesses, like a coffee shop, a small mom and pop coffee shop, how they're going to afford that? That's my question.
Well, most of those small coffee houses, they have a single toilet bathroom anyway, so only one person can use it at a time. So problem solved.
Yeah, that's true. And there's some of them that are kind of the opposite, that they don't have the funds to do that at all. Because when you buy a building, try to alter it, that's going to be a shit ton of money. And it's going to be less money for you and less money to pay for your employees. So there is a bit of a bind. I don't think we should get a state government to enforce these rules like that,
Well, there's always things to consider when you open up or start a new business, and that's just the way that it's going to go.
Oh yeah, that's true. And with smaller businesses, I want more smaller businesses to thrive. That's why I agree with the whole idea of anarcho capitalism, or the idea of free market capitalism. Well, yeah, there's a bit of a difference what I'm saying. Yes, there's two different terminologies that I'm mixing up with. But I'm tired of regulation after regulation after regulation, that smaller businesses cannot go ahead and try to compete with the bigger dogs.
I know, but then you have me, that's an opposing voice that's looking at big corporations and saying, like, hold on a minute, I don't want to throw power in their court because the power that they have, they're already abusing it.
Well, that's true. But smaller businesses are more scared of bigger businesses are more scared of smaller businesses getting ahead compared to people in office, because they can always buy out people in office.
But,
just like
hey, like I think we need some more like entertaining stuff. Like you want to hear the ramblings of an idiot?
what is that?
Oh, okay, here we go.
Okay.
It's really, really hard to like be friends with somebody that just goes on and 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 doesn't know how to answer a question, just goes on and talks about themselves and on and on and on.
Hold on, he's not finished.
Like it took me 4 hours, dude, just to get like a yes or no answer out of you. And it was just like, I got banned from PlayStation Network because PlayStation fucking hates gay people and blah 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 blah. And it's like, no, dude, like, was it a yes? Like, I don't know. Were you using the PlayStation Network like for video game stuff? Or and then you're like, oh, I was playing a video game. Like, you just should have opened up with that. I was playing a video game and the guy didn't like what I was saying on it, so then he reported. That's how you like tell shit. And then like you went to like literally like if it was a novel, like it was a novel. Like seriously, like just like short and sweet. Like that's how human beings fucking communicate, man.
Hold on, he's not done. He's got his own novel.
You're doing yourself an injustice and you're not doing yourself a favor by like rambling and telling like these long stories. Like if you want to like speak to the masses, speak with a message and speak with a purpose and nothing more. And
know you
like you owe to yourself because you have a really good message and you have a very powerful message, but it gets very lost in translation because of the length of the words and the context of what you're saying. Like just do better, like just pay attention to what you're saying and how it affects your audience. And it'll be fine, like when you listen to a song, do you like want to hear just like a 3-minute long fucking verse before the chorus hits? Like,
oh my god,
he's not done.
Tell me I'm wrong, because like the impression that I get of you is that you try to ram this down people's throats, and people really appreciate that often, Of course, all in all, you're still my friend. So when I see tomfoolery, I'm gonna call it out. That's what friends do. So I hope that you do the same to me.
Tomfoolery. God, what the fuck is he talking about? You should be going rambling on, but he's the fucking rambling.
I love this, like dude, like totally, like
I hate that shit.
Like.
Oh, God. It's like AOC. Every time she starts talking, it's just like every fucking sentence.
No, I absolutely love that he thinks he has dominion to like tell me how to conduct myself in a public space. It's like who the fuck are you to tell me how to conduct myself?
I got pissed at Jeremy when he was running the goth events, and because he would do the exact same thing. And I can understand certain subjects you shouldn't talk about at the goth night. Okay, fair enough. But he was asking me how to pose myself, and they were like, what to look at, and I'm like, the fuck? If I'm dancing with a chick and I'm looking at her, what, I can't look at her? I just have to look away and dance at the same time? What the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, and the thing is like he doesn't know me. He doesn't know me at all. He doesn't know my work. I don't think we've watched his my.
And he has enough nerve to sit there and say that you cram your opinion down people's throats. When do you do that?
I don't think he knows what activism is, or the other thing too is like what he phrased his question like he talks. He was like, so like his question was phrased like, so like, is this like for gaming stuff or like other stuff? And I'm like, when I saw it, I was wondering, what on earth is he asking? Like, I don't understand this question. And I realized he's typing how he talks. And it's like, this is improper grammar and very hard to understand what you're trying to say. Like, you need to remove all these likes in there. That's, that doesn't work. And
yeah, it was just one goth girl that I was talking to. And one time I just got fed up with her and I said, look, don't sound like a Valley girl. I'm like, I'm not sounding like a Valley girl. I'm like, and then she said, like every fucking sentence. And I'm like, I am deeply turned off from you. Bye. And she got mad at me.
What he was trying to ask me about the PlayStation incident was I using it to play video games?
Of course, you use it to play video games. That should be common sense.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, what the fuck else do you think? No, I'm fucking waging an underground social war on it. Like, what the fuck do you think I'm doing on there? What else am I going to be doing on the PlayStation Network? Seriously, dude.
You're like, you bumped into one person who would literally call himself Trump on there just to troll people. And I thought it was funny. And then, you know, it was just it's a bunch of fucking trolls on your PlayStation in general, and they would cuss and swear and use racial or sexist slurs all the time. So they're
called gamers. I mean,
yeah, they get frustrated and say what's one of the frustrating things. I say fuck shit and a bunch of fucked up shit when I play. The only difference is I just don't go online because it's like I'm getting my ass kicked by a 11-year-old. Thanks a lot, you assholes.
I don't know. It's almost customary at this point. Like, I mean, you know, like you just hear like all kinds of shit in like the lobbies of a game.
You remember one time you were telling me that one guy was threatening the other guy that he's going to smash his knees, and I'm like,
he was like, I'm going to come over to your house and bust your fucking kneecaps.
Then he's going to be playing the game more. That would be a bad idea.
I was sitting there listening to it, like eating something, like, and they're just cussing each other out, and I'm like, this is cheap entertainment. He's great.
Oh boy. Also,
but seriously, what the fuck else would I be doing on the PlayStation? Were you like playing games or like, you know, like doing something else?
Okay, I got to ask you another question here, and I don't know if it's a serious question. I made a rant about it on YouTube on my video. I don't know if you saw it or not yet. About the Colorado shooting with those two transsexuals.
No, oh yeah, I did see that.
Trumpers. I think I posted up online on my Facebook, and it's gonna make the community look bad. It really does. And I know plenty of people who are transsexuals, and they're not violent. They're the opposite of violent. I mean, yeah, there's a higher suicide rate. Somebody message me. Fucking bullshit. Okay then.
Well, I think the ideal thing is that we don't want anybody to shoot up anything. Like that's just
fucked up. It's horrible, yeah. And it was kind of, I think it was the same motivation from the New Zealand shooter. The same motivation was trying to cause more of a divide between our country, to start a war. And in the video I mentioned that I read through the manifesto of the New Zealand shooter. It went from sad, lonely, depressive, and I almost cried on some of the stuff that he wrote down. And like, oh my God, you went through this shit, dude? It's horrible. And went from that to narcissistic and anger. You know, narcissism, and you saw slowly from a sad, pathetic human being who's going through a lot of shit to somebody who's just becoming evil, aggressing through, reading through all the whole manifesto. It just felt dark. It was bad. It was really bad, dude.
I think you understand me when I say, believe me, that rabbit hole is not a rabbit hole that is fun to jump down. It is dark, dank, twisted, and just full of pure, unrequited hatred.
Yeah, it is. It's screwed up.
You know why I'm saying that.
Yeah. And, you know, the mainstream media was going on saying about the New Zealand shooters, claiming that he was a Trump supporter. And I'm like, no, he's not. He liked the idea of Trump, but he hated Trump because because Trump supports Israel. And he didn't like conservatives. He didn't like liberals. He didn't like anybody because he was just his ideology was just straight up hatred. So, I mean, the mainstream media is misleading and causing more division because they want that. That's what they want. They want a culture war. They want a huge war because they feed up on negativity and stories. more problems, more money in their pocket. And that's the worst part is when Donald Trump sits there and says the media is the enemy of the people, like it or not, it's truth. You know.
I kind of like Obama gave a speech recently, and he was saying that I kind of like what he had to say, because he was saying that, you know, like all this divisiveness just really needs to stop. It just needs to stop.
He mentioned about there's a civil war between the Democrats and the socialists. That said it was like I think it was Obama said it was a circling firing squad almost. And it's becoming more divisive between the parties. It's crazy.
Well,
there's more division.
But I think what he said was, you know, it really wasn't that bad.
Yeah. He said some stuff recently I agreed with, so I completely understand.
Let me see if I can pull it up.
And I'm not a fan of Obama. I don't like Obama.
You don't have to be a fan of Obama to still appreciate something that he says.
Yeah, I'm just saying to the audience. Yeah, I appreciate what he says. There's a few things I think Tim Pool mentioned. I read through one of the articles that Obama saying there's more separation between each other in the Democratic Party because of identity politics. And I'm like, I'm surprised he's saying this. And I totally agree because.
Okay, I found something really weird that we need to show. I don't.
Okay.
What the fuck to make of this? Okay, hold on. I'm gonna do this. Share. Okay, hold on. What the fuck is this?
Oh god, that's sword fighting.
Okay, what the fuck?
Hey, all you guys watching, I love you guys, and I love you guys so much. Not in a gay way, but it can be totally gay like that.
All right. Okay. Cool. I found it. Pause. Okay. Here's the speech from Obama. Hey, you didn't do the screen share thingy. Okay. Acid trip time. Okay. Here it is. On mute and play.
Plenty about Fox News, but you never heard me threaten to shut them down. And just put walls up all around America. Walls don't keep out threats like terrorism or disease. But I am here to tell you that even if you don't agree with me or Democrats on policy, even if you believe in more libertarian economic theories, even if you are an evangelical and our position on certain social issues is a bridge too far, even if you think my assessment of immigration is mistaken and the Democrats aren't serious enough about immigration enforcement, I'm here to tell you that you should still be concerned with our current course and should still want to see a restoration of honesty and decency and lawfulness in our government. It should not be Democratic or Republican. It should not be a partisan issue to say that we do not pressure the Attorney General or the FBI to use the criminal justice system as a cudgel to punish our political opponents. Or to explicitly call on the Attorney General to protect members of our own party from prosecution because an election happens to be coming up. I'm not making that up. That's not hypothetical. It shouldn't be Democratic or Republican to say that we don't threaten the freedom of the press because they say things or publish stories we don't like. I complained plenty about Fox News. But you never heard me threaten to shut them down or call them enemies of the people. It shouldn't be Democratic or Republican to say we don't target certain groups of people based on what they look like or how they pray. We are Americans. We're supposed to stand up to bullies, not follow them. We're supposed to stand up to discrimination. And we're sure as heck supposed to stand up clearly and unequivocally to Nazi sympathizers. How hard can that be? Saying that Nazis are bad. And demagogues promise simple fixes to complex problems. They'll promise to fight for the little guy, even as they cater to the wealthiest and most powerful. They'll promise to clean up corruption and then plunder away. They start undermining norms that ensure accountability and try to change the rules to entrench their power further. And they appeal to racial nationalism that's barely veiled, if veiled at all. Sound familiar?
Okay. Well, there's some stuff I agreed and don't agree with him on. That I don't think Trump's actually trying to shut down CNN. I think he's just criticizing CNN. And I think mainstream corporations are trying to shut down smaller guys like Sargon of Akkad, Paul Joseph Watson, Milo, those guys. Actually, I think, even though clearly I disagree with CNN, they have the right to exist, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we have a right to disprove them and not get shut down.
Yes.
So I get what he's saying, and I agree with him on a lot of things. On stuff like that.
The thing that I thought that was really intriguing is he was reaching out to people that normally he like aren't on his side. You know, he's saying like,
Yeah,
look, even if you're a Republican, you know, even if you're libertarian, there are certain things that it doesn't matter where you fall on the political spectrum that America stands for.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, that's the funny thing is that that how he won the election the first and second time, he appealed to both sides. He actually had a Smith & Wesson one time, went out to a gun range and shot it and said, oh, I support guns, so I just don't support taking all your guns away. He was trying to appeal to conservatives at the time being, but the problem is with Hillary Clinton, she wasn't appealing to, she was only appealing to one side and was playing onto identity politics. And that's how she lost. That's part of the reasons why she lost.
You may not agree with everything of Barack Obama. I certainly don't. There's things that he's done that I have questioned. But one thing I can't deny is he is a phenomenal public speaker.
Yeah, exactly. Why do you think Donald Trump supported he supported gay marriage when he was running for office and said, well, there's no point of shutting down. Okay, he's leaving.
No, I'm not leaving. I can still hear you.
Right. Then when a lot of Republican conservatives were trying to, I want to explain this, was trying to appeal gay marriage, Trump says that we don't need to worry about that. We need to worry about our economy first instead of worry about something that is something stupid like that. And I have no problem with gay marriage. He even said, Donald Trump had even said that.
Well, let's not forget Donald Trump was trying to raise awareness of gay rights in the Middle East.
Exactly. So I mean, this whole like, oh, Trump's anti-gay or anti-LGBT it's a bunch of it's a stagnant argument. You can make the whole argument with the whole transsexual ban on military. I can understand that could be an argument, but the problem is, the combination of PTSD and gender dysphoria does not work out. There's a high suicide rate, and we learned from Vietnam when people were getting shot full of drugs and dealing with death combat and PTSD, that didn't really work out during the 1960s because half of those people ended up in prison when they got back home. Just saying. And the suicide rate on that, oh boy. Vietnam was not a good war. Did any comment?
No, but that was an alert for Cult of Dusty. I just recently subscribed to him not too long ago, and I haven't watched a thing he's done.
There's a lot of gaming channels I look up on YouTube and stuff like that, and I thought about doing gaming on a channel, but I don't know how I can able to transfer that. Lauren Southerner is now having a new video up. Same thing.
Well, so like as far as you and I go, like one of the things that I think I like we understand where each other is coming from, but we disagree on is that well, one thing we absolutely agree on: crony capitalism, corporatism is bad, and I think it's interesting that no matter where you look on the political spectrum, everyone agrees with that.
Yeah.
The thing is that we can't agree on what to do to deal with it, but then you have moderate, like normal rational liberals and normal rational right-leaning people that are actually discussing it, like you and I. Like your answer to it is basically like an ANCAP, free market capitalism, and it's and you're pandering to like the small businesses, and I understand that. It's like small businesses do need to be protected because they do not have the wealth or the power to capitulate to all the demands that are
But
being
you think about it, a lot of small businesses, they actually get to the point that they take over the market and make competition between each other. I mean, look at Netflix, man. I mean, without Netflix, think about it. Blockbuster was a thing of history. They made a few mistakes and they fucked up and they got screwed over. They fucked themselves over because nobody likes dealing with late fees.
Well, then there's my argument, which is like more of an FDR type model, where it's like, okay, like crony capitalism is just, it's capitalism just gone wild, like tits jiggling in the air and everything. And it's like, okay, we need to put like a restraint on this, because I'm looking at more of what the multi-conglomerate corporations are doing, the laws that they're breaking, and I mean, they're participating in racketeering, money laundering, offshore accounts. They're fucking the people over that work for them, and there's no accountability. And that's where I'm like, there should be accountability, because justice is supposed to be blind, and that's the problem that I see in it. So
the problem is they have too much power and they have no competition. That's the thing is there's no competition between each other, so they cannot be held accountable. Yes, I agree with you. The law needs to be enforced, but the problem is when you put more laws in, nobody's going to respect those laws. It's just a piece of paper that's saying otherwise.
Well, I'm not proposing laws. I'm proposing giving, like, basically like the labor departments more power than what they already have. I know that that's giving government power, and I think that's something that you're ultimately against because you're afraid of government power. But I am terrified of the power that the corporations have, because they are absolutely taking it and running with it. Look at the example of the Silicon Valley giants. I mean, they are playing basically
they're going against the First Amendment of freedom of speech, and I completely understand that.
Well, they're not just doing that, they're policing the social discourse. And it's like, where on earth do you think that you have the right to do that?
Yeah.
And it's like the United States government doesn't do that, because we are protected by the Constitution to have a public discourse.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing is that these liberals who sit there and say, not you, I'm saying these other not rational liberals come out and say, oh, they're a private corporation, but yet they would bash and shit upon capitalism. It's kind of hypocrisy. What YouTube and these tech giants are doing, they're against the First Amendment right. They're silencing voices, and they say, we're not the government, we're a private corporation. No, you're not. You've been funded by the U.S. government. You've been used by the U.S. taxpayer. Not only that, the FBI, CIA does use social media for their investigations. So, ergo, you're part of the government as well if you get money from the government.
Well, the thing is that I'm paying some of these things, some of these tech giants money for their service. And it's like, well, part of your service is about policing me? No, 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 no. I'm not paying you to police me. I'm paying you to provide me a service.
Yeah. Well, I think, to my opinion, the idea of, I think if we do have a digital constitution, that
That's
they
I
should.
think the right and the left are in agreement, like the rational right and left
Yeah.
are in agreement of that. We
Yeah.
need a digital constitution.
Yeah, and I completely, I completely understand. There's stuff. I support freedom of speech. You support freedom of speech, but there's some things I will say. Incitement of violence is against the rules.
Well, illegal activities. We're talking about things that are already illegal anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where I'm looking at this and going, well, how come you have a report button for people that are offensive, but you don't have anything to like turn someone into law enforcement officials that need to be investigated because they're up to illegal activity?
Exactly. And I mean, I've seen so many people online talk about crimes they have done, and the incitement of violence and stuff like that. And
Like, for instance, would it be appropriate for me to make a video instructing somebody how to make a homemade bomb that has been federally made illegal? Like, if you get caught making it, you will be busted by the feds. Would that be appropriate for me to make a video like that?
No, not exactly.
No, I could actually get I should get in, like, if I did that, I should get in a lot of trouble for that. But the thing is like,
it's kind of interesting you brought that up, because they were on YouTube. They were talking about scan guns that you can print out and scan and build by yourself.
With those 3D printers.
Yeah, 3D printers. And you look into those 3D printers, it was big. I think it was on news media. It was a big, huge fuss against it, saying that they needed to ban them and all this other stuff is dangerous and blah 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 stuff like that. But you have to realize those 3D printers, they cost more than a firearm.
Oh, yeah, I've seen the price of the 3D printers. They are insane.
Yeah, I mean the firearm I have, the 9mm Taurus, cost me about, I would say about $300, $350, not including the bullets.
Man, I went urban exploring and I found a German revolver for free.
I'm surprised you didn't sell it.
Well, that's a long story. My brother took that from me and he sold it because that this is a dark story.
You don't have to tell me. It's live stream. Don't tell me. There's a reason why I call you the Ross Williams of political talk. That's the only thing I gotta say. I woke up with a massive hangover today, and I felt like shit.
I don't know. I don't drink.
You don't drink?
No.
My problem is I drink sometimes just to try to get some sleep, and it's kind of hard to.
I'm all about that nug.
I'm there with you. I smoke occasionally, man. You mentioned about. I think I was listening to a podcast that there was it was a conservative commentator. He said, I'm not a very big fan of pot, but if they do legalize it, they don't want to federally legalize it. They want to do it by state legalize it.
There's a problem with that. You know, one of the reasons why we can't do further research here in the United States on marijuana and its medicinal properties or its effects on the mind and et cetera, is because of the federal lockhold on it. The federal lockhold on it has placed it as a Scheduled I narcotic, saying that it has absolutely no value whatsoever. And it's like, I don't even know how many are on that list, but I don't even think like all of them are even on there. And it's like, to place marijuana on that list is really extreme, but it makes it so that like if a botanist or a biologist or a biotechnician wants to research that plant, you know what they have to apply for a certificate to do it. And what they're going to end up with, because the government will stipulate, the federal government will stipulate that you can have that to research it, but it can't have any flowers, it can't have any buds, and it can't have any leaves. You're talking about a stick in the dirt.
Yeah.
You can't
And
you can't do anything with that.
well, his whole argument about it was that it was kind of interesting. If you did it by state, federally, you can't overturn a state choice. So if you had a federal politician voted to legalize marijuana and then next year get rid of it by federal standards, it makes it too easy to do that. But if you did it state by state, it would be hard to do. To take away certain rights from certain states, you can't do that. You know?
Well, the reason why I want the feds to let go of it is so that we can, because like even in the states where it's legal, they have to be very, very careful, because even though it's legal in that state, like a pot farm could absolutely get busted in by the FBI, even though it's legal in that state. And it's
And
like,
also,
oh, okay, this is ridiculous. Like the feds need to let it go.
yeah. But also they had was it over in Colorado, over in California? Their economy is going like shit. They legalized marijuana, and their economy was doing well, and then they added extra tax to it. It started failing. You're not allowed to grow your own pot plants. You're not allowed to sell pot unless you can only buy pot. But in Colorado, their economy is actually doing a whole lot more better. They have no regulation.
They have an excess of money, a surplus of money.
Yeah,
because marijuana sales.
Because they didn't add an extra tax to it. That's one. They let the free market work for itself to legalize marijuana, to go forward with legalizing marijuana, to make people let people grow it if they want to. And guess what? Their economy is doing better. When you add not very much regulations, you legalize marijuana, the economy is doing better with the free market. I would even say, I dare to say, and you probably would or would not agree with me on this. I'm so libertarian. I think prostitution could be a way of a legal prostitution.
Well, actually, that's a very liberal sentiment. There's a lot of liberals that want to see prostitution legal because it's basically victimizing women. And it's like, well, there's no need to do that. Why is it okay to pay for sex when there's a video camera involved, but it's not okay to pay for sex between two consenting adults? Like, what? Like that's such a weird concept. It's such a weird concept. Like I could go up to somebody and say, "Hey, I want to have sex with you," and it's like, and they say, "Okay, yes, that's fine." But if you say, "Hey, I want to have sex with you," and if you don't want to have sex with me, would you do it for this amount of money? If they said yes, that's a consensual agreement. I don't understand.
Plus, at the same time, when you have people who are legally, prostitutes, who are legal licensed prostitutes, they actually go through the procedures of every weekly checkups of HIV checkups, so it's more safer that way.
Well,
so
it's not just HIV check. Like I've looked into the brothels in Nevada, and they're very professional. They have guards, they have bodyguards to make sure that if one of the clients becomes overly possessive, they've got a big bodyguard to make them fuck off. They've got showering equipment so that the clients need to shower and be clean, because it's like the prostitutes aren't going to be with anyone disgusting. They get regular full STD screens. Condoms are mandatory. They're an absolute must. And these women, they have 401ks and health insurance plans.
Yeah, and to me that's pretty good, because you think about it, it opens more of a market. There's more tax revenue. There's more business going. It's more organized. I support the idea of, it's more of a libertarian idea of that. I'm kind of the way, legalize marijuana, still have our guns, still have our pot, but still build a wall.
Let's not forget that there's also the aspect of male prostitution.
That's true. There's big women who needs loving too.
Well, it's not just big women, but there's women that, for whatever reason, they engage with a male prostitute.
Yeah, as long as it's legal and the checks and balances,
consensual. That's a big issue to me. Is it consensual? And if you're talking about an exchange of money, like a monetary exchange for sex, it's like that's consensual. So what's the problem?
If they do this, if they do this, and I know other countries that legalized prostitution, the rape and sexual assault actually went down. Believe it or not.
There you go. No, that's the thing that I think people misunderstand about libertarianism. My understanding of libertarianism is that you take a left on social issues and you take a right on economic issues.
Yeah, that's funny. It's a combination of both. The term libertarian has been used, was brought up around during the hippie era, when you had business owners who lived the hippie lifestyle, who wanted to make a living, but at the same time was very anti-war, very anti big government, who loved guns, who loved living like a redneck, but loved smoking pot and making a business out of it. The term libertarian was used during that time. The Tea Party was more like redneck version of anarchists. It's like a step further than that.
Well, and the outtake of one of my videos that I made about the alt-right, I showed it to a few people. I think, oh yeah, I showed it to you.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
But there was a point in there where I said, like, fuck authoritarianism. I'd rather go and hang out with a bunch of NRA libertarians, because they still appreciate freedom.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the one thing I don't like about the far left, that they label anybody that's against them. They even labeled the Green Party as Nazis on them.
The Green Party is not.
Yes, they actually had a Democratic candidate call the Green Party a bunch of Nazis, a bunch of Nazi sympathizers, and there were a bunch of communists who are eating food with the Kremlin. And I'm like,
a Nazi communist. What kind of internal struggle that would be?
Oh boy, it was like the most dumbest thing. I think it was the amazing
myself, but I love my own ideas that conflict but don't conflict with each other.
And in my back of my head, it's like, you guys are lying. You just don't like another liberal party to interfere with your winning streak. I'm not stupid.
Well, I would say that the Green Party is full of a bunch of nuts, but
I agree with you on that. I think the Green
but
Party
they're not Nazis.
Nazis, yeah. I mean, somebody showed me a picture of like some of the Green Party members eating and having dinner with a bunch of Russians, and but I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, there's a lot of people who've hung out with Russians before. That's no different. There's even like a video of like Bernie Sanders getting drunk with a bunch of Russians. And partying and getting drunk and naked with a bunch of Russians during like the 1980s Cold War era. That was fucked up.
Well, right now, I don't think that there's a travel ban for United States citizens to visit Russia.
Exactly.
You could absolutely go and visit Russia if you wanted to, as an American citizen.
This funny thing is that they actually back in somebody on my old Facebook showed a meme about the IRA that they were talking about. It was a meme that make a point that there was these banned Middle Eastern countries that they couldn't go to. It's like, well, then why white people who blows up England that are NRA members, why that's not on the ban list? I'm like, that happened back in 1992, dumbass. And yes, they had a temporary ban for 2 years when that shit was going on. So what the fuck are you talking about? This meme is stupid. And after that, he unfriended me. I'm like, it's true. And I pulled up.
Beats Chad brought up an interesting point. He said the Green Party presidential candidate was literally Jewish.
Yeah, exactly.
How could they possibly? I'm telling you, like, I don't think Nazis are a big fan of Jewish people at all. For some reason, they fucking hate you guys.
Exactly.
I mean, they will. I think the neo-Nazis would tolerate a homosexual as long as they weren't out about it. They would tolerate that. They would tolerate it, not accept it, but tolerate it.
They would kill me, and they would kill me before they would kill Jinx. They think I'm more of a threat.
Yes, they.
And I'm a broke middle-aged white man. So yeah, they think I have money supposedly. I guess so.
They fucking hate you guys. They
No,
hate.
I can hear the banjo. I can hear the banjos a mile away, and then Borak singing, "Throw the Jew down the well, so our country can be free." No, you can smell the inbred, the inbred off of them. I remember you told me you talked to one of them, and they looked like hot garbage, like hot burning garbage.
No, I haven't seen, like, I mean, the only ones that I've seen are the ones that came into the live stream that one time, and I was like I didn't get the whole mask thing at first. I was like, who are you people? And I investigated and found out, and I'm like, no.
They probably were a bunch of trolls and stuff like that at first, and then when you digged a little deeper, and they're like, "Oh, fuck no."
Well, I find it interesting because I like to try and figure out how these different little groups think, because like it's hard to, you know, like, debate philosophies if you don't really know what the opposition is. So in order to find that out, you have to dig deep into that. You have to go into that rabbit hole.
And it seems like these opposition groups, that is like, regardless of what you do or regardless of what you say, you're wrong all the time. It's just like that same thing with Antifa. It's like, you're wrong all the time. You don't need, you're a fascist regardless.
Well, I wasn't seeking out to debate them. I was seeking out to understand.
Understand them. But even then, it's like their ideology is kind of warped and one-sided instead of just looking at both sides. Because I mean, that's the one good thing about YouTube is that I can just switch from different sides.
Okay, let me ask you a question. If you walk outside right now, are you in fear of your life that a horde of black people are going to come up and just start, like, pummeling you to death?
No. And I live in a pretty dominantly black neighborhood.
So you're telling me there's not this stream of black people just beating white people up randomly on the streets?
Well, there's the knockout game, and that's in New York, but I don't experience that.
That's my point, is like a lot of it is a lot of, like, just paranoia. It's like, yeah, you have the yellow vests, and yeah, you have, like, some riots that have broken out here and there, but the average citizen walking out on their street is not seeing these things, because it's not like this full out waged war like they're painting it up to be. It's like, no, like, you can go outside and you're safe. Okay. It's fine.
Majority of the time you are.
Yeah.
And the only times I deal with the Antifa losers that are around here, they just ran their mouth from a car and then talk shit. That's basically it. And they never fuck with me because I'm always armed.
Well,
so
what do you think about this? Okay, so the Jewish people are trying to take over the world and introduce everyone to multiculturalism and break our society.
That's the most dumbest shit in the world.
Okay, well, that was actually a quote from some neo-Nazi on a propaganda. It was a propaganda video for recruiting, like, alt-right people. That was one of the things that was said, is that the Jewish people are trying to take over the West, and they're trying to break down the West by introducing us to multiculturalism and take over our society and kill off the white race.
That's the most dumbest thing I ever fucking heard.
Isn't that some fucking paranoid shit?
Some stupid shit, yeah. Like,
if there's anything conspiratorial, it's that. That is a conspiracy. Like, you are believing in conspiracy theories at that point.
Well, since you're talking about the alt-right and Sargon the Cod, that you discovered recently that Richard Spencer was a mouthpiece to neo-Nazis. You told me that.
Well, I don't think that's a mystery. Like, Richard Spencer is absolutely, he's what I would call a PR representative. He's a public relations representative for the alt-right or the neo-Nazi. And he pushes propaganda onto the population, try and persuade people and convince them to join the alt-right by using such like talking phrases of like, you know, like the left has abandoned you. The left has made you feel like if you are white, if you are male, if you are heterosexual, and you have pride in this, that you are supposed to feel like you are a burden to society. But rest assured, there's a group amongst you that has not lost their way, and we absolutely stand behind you. You do not any longer have to feel ashamed of being heterosexual. You no longer have to feel ashamed of your white heritage. I mean, you get the picture.
Yeah, I could. It's identity politics. It's like it's like the Islamic Brotherhood, but a little reverse. The funny thing is, they go around and claim the right or left. Oh, they're the real party of racists. Let's say the history. Okay, let's bring up the history of the right and left. Okay, one point the Democratic Party was the party of the Ku Klux Klan. That's the truth. Around the 1960s, when Kennedy was in office, both parties refused and rejected the Klan. There was no party switch. There never was a party switch. That's horseshit. You look through history, they rejected it. The white supremacists one time tried to eject themselves into the Conservative Party one time. That was the Southern Poverty Law Center. After 2 years, they rejected them and say, look, we want nothing to do with you guys, okay? We don't like the racial divide we have in the 70s, but you know what? Fuck you guys. We're done with you, okay? We're the party of Lincoln. We don't want nothing to do with you. And now, with 2016, when Trump running for office, they're trying to do it again and try to eject themselves into the...
Oh, shit. Okay.
What I was saying is that, they're trying to eject themselves into the right again, these white supremacists. And then when Trump rejected them after Charlottesville and said, look, we want nothing to do with you guys, fuck you, they got pissy about it.
All right. So Vlad Beats Chad says that that most folks on the alt-right don't endorse Richard Spencer. And that may very well be true, but Richard Spencer is a part of the alt-right. But I do have this to share.
It's the same thing. It's like the same thing with conservatives.
What about this guy? This guy is absolutely a talking head for the alt-right, for the neo-Nazi movement. Have you heard of him?
I have never heard of this guy. But I think I've heard of him before. I just don't recognize him too much.
I believe he's a spokesperson for Identity Europa. I'm not going to play that.
Man, we get copyright strike, and they're going to probably hate. They would love to copyright strike us.
Well, it's not so much that. It's just no. I'm not stepping in that murky water.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. But like I said, that for the longest time, you got white supremacists, you got neo-Nazis trying to eject their politics into our party, and I'm tired of it. I fucking hate it because the left saying we're like that, even though clearly we're not that way. But of course, the reason why they're doing it because they hate the left more, and they agree with us on some things, like the wall. That's one, and two, traditionalism. That's the only thing they would agree with us on. And everything else, the opposite.
Well, and some of the reasons why is completely different. Like you want the wall for a completely different reason than they do.
Yeah, exactly. I want legal immigration, not illegal immigration. I don't want people coming over here illegally that can cause problems, that have a bad background, and cause more issues in communities. But if they come here legally, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what your skin color is. You can be a white, pale, white, ghostly-looking motherfucker from England. If you come here illegally, I don't want you here, because it was a white English a teenager who got here illegally who tried to kill the president of the United States, who was a schizophrenic, right? There you go. Point proven. But they do it for a different reason. They're just doing it to be a fucking racist.
Well,
By
they don't want anything that isn't white in this country. I was told that it's not about like if because they call us Amerimuts because everyone in America is mixed to some level or degree. So that it's about implicit whiteness of whether or not you identify as white or not, unless of course it is quite obvious that you are mixed.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's cool.
Like for instance, I have Native American in me. It's actually quite a bit. It was my great grandmother that was a full-blooded Cherokee or Apache, and I don't identify as Native American though. I identify as Caucasian or white, so I would qualify.
Yep. Well, I mean, that's the thing is when I was married one time to a African American mixed girl. She was,
and
black.
In their eyes, that would make you a race hater.
I was with this girl for about, I would say, 5 years, and we were married for 1 year. I still love the fucking bitch. I love her to death, but she is a, But we talk time to time, occasionally, and sometimes we do occasionally, what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And
mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we have those times that, feelings bubble up sometimes.
Sex happens.
Yes, exactly. The next day we regret it from each other, don't look at each other, and don't do that again. And then next month it happens again.
Do one of these numbers where you're twisting your toe in the dirt. So, you want to have sex? Okay.
Again, the big, huge argument. We cuss each other out. And she shows up at my house. We start cussing each other out. We end up having sex after that. Angry sex. And then later on, we don't talk to each other for a while, get mad at each other. And then it starts all over again. I gain feelings back again. And then I said, I love you, sweetheart. She says, go die and fuck yourself in the text message. I'm like, fuck you. Oh, it's insane. It's insane. Ugh. And I hate this. It's like,
the things that I'm saying it's my understanding from interviewing like somebody that was self-proclaimed neo-Nazi. And so like whether or not he was telling the truth, I don't know. But to my understanding, that is what he was saying that he stands for is totalitarianism. So I mean, I don't know that they're in favor of free speech. I don't know. I think that they want to keep the Second Amendment, and it's but everything else is like garbage. It's just trashed. I mean, it's like
the funny thing is with communists. I've talked to plenty of communists before and like debated them and go back and forth. They support guns. But it seems kind of strange. Marxism, I read through Marxism before. They support the idea of firearms. But the problem is, every time there's a socialist or a communist regime, they do the opposite of having guns.
Well, you're talking about grassroots versus the mainstream, what it's become. Yeah. Like an old school anarchist would be in favor of guns. Like they wouldn't give a shit either way, because that's what an anarchist is. A total no authoritarian, no authority whatsoever. There is no governing body whatsoever. No rules. And so there wouldn't be any restriction on guns in that mindset. But then when you talk about like utopian anarchists, they would be against guns because they're for creating a utopian society.
Yeah. Well, that's the funny thing is that with you look through Marxism, they support the idea of guns. But the downside is with the grassroots to it, when it gets mainstream, when it gets bigger into a form of government, you look at Brazil, you look at other countries that adopted socialism, even partial socialism, which is mixed economy. If you look at communism in general in the Soviet Union, they're completely against guns. And when they got rid of the guns, they started killing each other with axes. So, yeah, it's like, oh, that doesn't work. So it's up to the point that even this something like this right here, they have to illegalize. In England, they're having knife laws now. They're getting rid of knives now. So it's insane.
Yeah, well, England is going off the deep end. I mean, like they've got Sharia courts over there, and it's like there are moderate Muslims, and a lot of people look this over, but there are moderate Muslims that are saying, get the Sharia courts out of here. They came to the West to escape the authoritarianism, and then they brought the authoritarianism over, and it's like, what the fuck? Like
And that's why I support legal immigration. You know,
yeah, they're escaping those countries, like people from North Korea, people from China, people from the Middle East. They come to Western civilization to escape authoritarianism.
You know, the funny thing is the over in France, the Yellow Vest movement was a result of authoritarian. They were getting overtaxed. They were taking away their firearms. They got rid of knife control, and that's the worst part. Is they got rid of knife control. They got rid of knives, so they have knife control now. So that's, you know, you think England's fucked up. You look at France. Damn, you know, it's becoming a shithole. You see the streets that are covered in dirt and grime, and terrorist attacks happen, and the media turns a blind eye. And when the president of the United States says that France is no longer France anymore, oh, that's fake news. Oh, that's fake news. I've seen plenty of videos of riots out in the streets every fucking day that people have documented this shit going on.
Yeah, tell me you can go to social media and see it.
Yes, you can go on Facebook and look for yourself. There's people who are on the part of the Yellow Vest movement are recording this, but yet the mainstream media, news organizations, oh, that's not happening. Bullshit is not happening.
Well, but see, there's extremist groups that are using that to their advantage to indoctrinate people, to radicalize and make people more extreme, and well, yeah, just radicalization. And
I kind of went through a whole looking through generation of corrupt government. Look at Detroit, man. It's fucked. And the worst part is that all these countries that go through the exact same corruption, it's going to be a culture after a culture of next generation of just fucked up people in the head. You know, that's what happened to fucking Mexico. That's why there's a high crime rate in Mexico.
We should be careful what we teach the next generation. I think Dead Can Dance has a song about this. It's called Amnesia. Yeah. And it's one of the lyrics is, how can we create the future when we can't remember the past?
Exactly. And it was kind of a funny thing is I brought up this whole thing about the Confederate statues, and I think it's ridiculous how these people are tearing down these statues. I think it's ridiculous because we don't want to repeat history. We know what happened during the Civil War. It's a horrible past. It's disgusting. It was a fight over states' rights and slavery. So, but tearing down those statues is because of your hurt feelings. The next generation is not going to know that. History is going to repeat itself down the road.
Well, the thing is I don't think you can sweep the dirty bits of our past underneath the carpet and hope that nobody notices. Exactly. It's like we have to own that. We have to look at it and go, yes, this was a dark part in United States history, and just acknowledge it for that. I mean, that's what it was. It was you can't paint it up in pastel or pretend like it never happened, because it did.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I made a joke to somebody, and I'm going to make a funny skit about it one day in the future, that the Confederate statue over Cheapside Park over Lexington, Kentucky, they moved it to the Lexington, Kentucky Cemetery, which is like a block away. And I kind of scratched my head, and I was like, why they just can't put it in a museum? You might as well just put it right next door to right across the street. It would be no different. And I thought this okay, it'd be a funny skit if people who are anti-Confederate statue or anti-Confederate statue wants to move the statue 2 feet away. Just 2 feet away from the other side of the street. That's the whole purpose.
I'm just saying, no matter what you do, you can't erase the past. I mean, what's done has been done. The only thing you can do is acknowledge it and move forward into the future and say, let's not repeat these mistakes that our ancestors made.
Yeah, and that's the best part about history. Best part about history, and the best part about American history, that we have overcome diversity. We overcome to the best of our abilities to advance. You know, and
But we should
people.
be careful to defend our freedoms and not become like Britain, where they're losing their freedoms. Like I go back to that quote that I gave you from that CIA operative that works in the anti-terrorist division. He said, America doesn't do things to make us less free and less safe. America does things to make us more free and more safe. And he even went on to explain that, we're a very welcoming nation. We bring people in from all over the world and offer them shelter and take them in under our wing, which not every European or Western or first world nation does. So
I think even Japan, they're very, even though they're more of a mix, they're more of a market economy country. They're very strict on who they bring into their country as well.
they're homogeneous. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that to the alt-right and the neo-Nazis, I think that's what they like about them, is that they're homogeneous and they like the ironclad authoritarianism. That's what the Nazi that I interviewed told me, is that he admired their ironclad authoritarianism. And
I thought you were talking about like North Korea, that they wanted a white version of North Korea.
Very, very specifically North Korea, because of the ironclad authoritarianism of Kim Jong-un. Ugh.
Yeah.
A burp.
Well, Japan's more of, I would say, more of a more of an Asian version of Western culture almost, because we adopted their culture, they adopted our culture. Like literally, there's like tattoo parlors in Japan that once old school American tattoos. And back in the day, back a long time ago, like having tattoos, that means you are part of the Yakuza. So lots has changed since the 70s.
But then you still have ironclad authoritarianism in China, and it's
they have people in concentration camps, which is fucked up.
Well, they don't call them concentration camps, they call them re-education camps, and they send them there and then they never come back.
Yeah, they get killed, they get murdered, they starve to death and torture them.
Actually, I have a friend from Australia who's married. Well, he's not married, but it's, common law married. They've been together for like 18 years or something like that. She is from China, and he has told me some horrific stories about what they do over there. And it's like, you want to talk about an abomination of just stripping away somebody's freedom. I mean, like some of the things that, she's had to live through. It's just like, my God. Yeah. Like, no wonder they are willing to forfeit their lives to try and come to, Western first world nations, is because they're really just trying to escape the authoritarianism. I'm sure she loves her country to pieces, but the thing is the authoritarian dictatorship that exists over there is so intolerable. I tried to explain this. The more like conformity that you have, the more likely people are going to rebel and create insurgency. Like the 1950s is ultimately responsible for the hippie 60s movement.
The greasers, you had the the idea of the yuppies, you had different countercultures were brought up during that time.
People felt so restricted. They got to a point where they're like, I'm tired of being told what to do. I'm going to break free of all of it, and I'm going to rebel. And that's what happens when you create a really restrictive society and become very, very conformative. Where we've reached a point in the United States society where we can embrace both. And it's like, that's a really cool thing that we've obtained that. But now you have these extreme, like right and left, that are creating issues, and you know, like you have the culture war, and it's like it's getting to a point where it's like I really want this culture war to end.
I want it to end too. I mean, like back in the 90s, we didn't have to deal with this shit. Back in the early 2000s, back when I was like younger, when I was doing projects with Inner City Cannibals, when I was doing stuff with Jeremy, with writing, interviewing, directors, small town directors who were like local. I mean, I didn't give a shit about right or left. I was too busy smoking pot, recording music, interviewing people, and that's the only thing I fucking cared about. I started getting
back
into
in
more.
the 90s, you would have been considered a liberal.
No, 2000s, but you get my point.
Yeah, but back in the 90s, you would have been considered a liberal.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I never, you know, the funny thing is, I don't understand the concept of why is it the left are so anti-gun they want to get rid of everybody's guns. I never really get the concept. I never really get that concept in the first place.
It's ultimately they're trying to do something to stop violence, because you know the left is very well known for their bleeding hearts.
Exactly. But the thing is, do I have a right to defend myself with a firearm? That's fucking ridiculous that I can't
would
have
say
them.
that you do. I think that you should have the right to defend yourself. If somebody is threatening your life, you absolutely have the right to defend yourself, even if that means taking theirs.
That's the thing, is my intentions with every gun owner, with every legal gun owner, anybody who goes to a gun shop, everybody, almost everybody, their intentions is to use that firearm for target practice, that one, or when somebody breaks into your house and you shoot them because they're breaking into your house trying to kill you. Guns that are used in violence, about 90% of them are illegally purchased or through the dark web or through the black market or stolen. So this is the one thing that kind of despises me. That this is one thing I don't like about Bernie Butthead Sanders. He's for rights for certain reasons. He's for certain rights, but he's against those kind of rights. I just don't get that.
I know, and you'll be mad at me, but I'm kind of in support of Bernie Sanders, because he's actually putting an idea on the table that's talking about putting these multi-conglomerate corporations in check. And it's like, I mean, like I've told you my situation with my pinched nerve and everything, and all the shit that I've had to go through, and it's like, who do I turn to? Like Sony banning me and just taking my money, and they're like, well, you know, not our bag, man. That's not our table. We don't care. And it's like, I have no power in this. None.
It's crazy. I will agree. This is the thing is, I'm not a fan of Bernie Sanders, but there's some things I do agree with him on. He brings up certain subjects in the table, like that whole prison vote, that he wants certain felons to vote. I don't agree with his method, but I do agree that there's some people that I know of who've been out of prison for 10 or 5 years who haven't not even a fucking parking ticket, right? Why they're not able to vote? Why they don't have the right to have a firearm? That doesn't make any sense to me. If they haven't caused any problems for 10 years, not even a parking ticket.
Well, I think what they're looking at is like criminology, and statistically, like what the likelihood is if you're likely to commit a crime, that usually the progression gets worse and worse and worse. So they're trying to stop that before it begins.
Well, I understand that. And I completely disagree with Bernie Sanders by letting people are in prison for violent crimes, letting them vote. That's fucked up. But I'm talking about people who haven't done a violent crime, who got in trouble for drug possession. They're not allowed to vote.
I'm personally of the opinion that drugs should not be treated as a criminal offense. They should be treated as an addiction.
I definitely agree. I mean, selling, I can understand that, but, and this is a big but to it, instead of throwing them in prison, how about we just throw them in rehab and say, you got to get clean? You know?
Well, I mean, your tax dollars are going to get spent either way.
Yeah, exactly. You know?
But here's the thing is, like, you want to really stop the drug cartels? Make it so that the United States is producing the drugs instead, so that way we can regulate and moderate the potency level. It like whether it's been like because I mean on the streets
We already kind of do that with methadone already.
no, methadone is a terrible thing, and it's trading one addiction for another. There's a better alternative called Suboxone, but no, that's not what methadone is. Methadone, like, but what I'm saying is like for people who are heroin addicts, for people who are meth addicts, coke, crack, whatever, like the more extreme drugs that have more extreme outcomes to them. It's like if we like, because a lot of the times you buy this stuff on the street, you don't know how potent it is because it could have been cut, it could have not been cut, or it could be super concentrated and super hardcore. But as if like the United States was producing it themselves and had a standard, a regulation on it to how potent it could be, and that it had to meet like an FDA kind of guideline, the amount of overdoses would go down, and also make it so that it was purchasable by the people that engage in those habits, that are addicted to it. I'm not saying like, I don't think it should be available like alcohol. I don't think it should be available like cigarettes. But I think something needs to be, because what I'm ultimately talking about doing is taking away the market from the drug cartels. Because if we have a market here for it and we're manufacturing and producing it, and we have all these regulations and guidelines to go by to make it safer for those who are addicted to it, then they've lost their business. They have no reason to smuggle that stuff over here because there's no reason. We could even make it cheaper. We could compete in price and be like, well, yeah, you could smuggle it over here, but it wouldn't be worth it because they could just buy it legally through the United States as an addict. And
I get your point. The thing is, my question is, you can make drugs here in the United States as well. So what's the difference? Like,
well,
there's real parts that
that's what I'm saying. I'm suggesting full legalization, but maybe not. I think people get fearful of that word legalization, and they don't understand the full scale or concept of what is being said in that.
Right.
Is that like, no, I'm not condoning people going out and using heroin and meth. I'm saying that it's an addiction. And, there's all this talk about drug cartels. Well, if you really want to hit them where it hurts, it's where the money is. And so
also,
if the market's here in the United States, then they've lost their business. And
I see your point on that, but the problem is we're encouraging a bad habit instead of fixing the person. I'd rather take somebody in rehab instead of just throw them in prison, which is the harsher stuff, or just let them do what they want to do and kill themselves.
That's the thing when we look at it statistically. So the amount of people who quit with treatment is 8%. The amount of people who quit without treatment is 8%. So what that really ultimately kind of tells you is that treatment is just as effective as no treatment at all. Really, people are really only going to quit an addiction if they're serious about it.
Well, also, I mentioned about Andrew Yang on some of my videos. I do agree with. I think we should just bring this discussion up. I don't agree with his method of it, but nobody else is talking about it. I saw the debate between Ben Shapiro and Andrew Yang. They were like agreeing and disagreeing. It was more of a civilized debate. They had they were talking about demonetization. Basically, that we're going to replace by robots soon enough. That he's talking about giving $1,000 for every U.S. citizen to everybody who's a U.S. citizen to bring into the market because we're getting replaced by robots. I don't know how to fix the situation is, but having more government to give handouts won't fix the situation, in my opinion.
Well, I would like to know who can live off of $1,000 a month.
Not very much people. I mean, I actually pretty close to $1,000 a month because I used to work only fast food and I lived with like 2 other people as roommates. And it's still hard. It's still fucking hard. It was more than $1,000 a month. but also you got to put in account. I live in Kentucky.
That is actually like what $1,000 a month would be federally classified as way in the poverty bracket. Like,
you can only imagine if you've lived in California or you lived in New York City, you couldn't live in any place because your rent would be about $1,500 for the smallest apartment. For
well,
a
$1,000 a month is $12,000 a year.
Yeah, you couldn't live under that. It would not work. It would be very impoverished.
Yes,
and you might as well just not do that and just flip burgers for a living. Making minimum wage.
Money.
Actually, we did a lot of overtime because I was doing So yeah, it was a little bit more than $1,000, like $100 more than $1,000, but it was still pretty shitty.
Yeah,
I make more now.
And I'm gonna get $1,000 a month so I can sit at home and play video games and play with my genitals. It's like, no, you won't. $1,000 a month, you won't be able to afford video games, buddy.
Or eating, or even rent, or something like that. And I hate that one guy during that one live stream be like, only thing I'm gonna do is do art and play video games and smoke pot. And I'm like, you couldn't afford that pot, dude.
No.
Yes, you can. I can sell some. I'm like, whatever, dude. Okay, whatever. Fucking dumbasses. Do we got any trolls right now?
Nope.
I've been playing my fucking kendo stick.
That is deplorable behavior. That is not tolerated by the old.
It's funny. Hopefully that me, you, and Hannah can do this website and we can do this live stream and get paid for it. One day we can get this website going and we're going to be fucking butthurt rich reporting on news.
Well, I don't know if you noticed, but I don't really necessarily report on news as much as I take like an idea or a philosophy, a mantra, something like that, and I kind of dichotomize it. I think it's funny that people think that I'm political, and it's like, not.
You have philosophy. Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about it, man. You look at the Roman times. They see philosophy, and they see philosophy as more as a way of not only just politics and philosophy and science, but it was the rock stars of that era. Of the why is intelligent. This is back in the day when they treat intelligence as something that was admired as something really good. And unlike today, it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah, unfortunately, philosophy does not have a monetary value in our society. Even though I think it should. I think philosophy should be a mandatory course.
Oh yeah. I would say we would have more responsible thinking people today compared to.
Well, when you take philosophy, you become more hyper aware of what a bad argument sounds like. You become more aware of like when you're being manipulated, and when like there's some like basically the philosopher sat down and thought about really tricky ways of making arguments and why it is that those arguments don't work. Like, appeal to pity, which is basically, the SJW argument is appeal to emotive force, appeal to pity.
I remember one time I was while watching a video. I don't know if you remember this or you can pull this up. The video of this crazy bald-headed liberal was arguing with a Trump supporter that it's like, well, we should worry about feelings instead of factual arguments. And feelings is one of spirit and soul. And
like the right has engaged in an appeal to pity and appeal to emotive force. Like when the right comes on and they say, well, think about the children. That is absolutely an appeal to emotive force.
They both do that. Even going to war with the Bush administration was like, oh, they're coming to get us. They're going to take our freedom away. Well, how they're going to take our freedom away? They're all way over there.
Well, and again, that's an appeal to emotive force. They're playing on your fear. And so, do you understand why that's a deductively unsound argument, or what is known as an inductive argument?
And that's the funny thing is that
you've gone sideways. You and your shenanigans. I think we lost him. Says he's still in here. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Well, shit. See if I can find some weird, entertaining stuff. I can play. There is a band that I have that is so underground. Well, I guess we could do it that way. What happened there, buddy?
My phone died. It's like I'm 0%, and I'm like, this is kind of weird. Because I had it hooked up on a charger the whole time I was talking to you.
I'm doing share screen, so I got you in the live stream still.
Nice. For some weird reason, why my phone is acting odd. You see me right now?
Yeah, I see you.
Okay, I was scared shitless. I thought something happened to my phone. I was like, oh, fuck. So, shit. It's getting late right now. I have to wake up early in the first place.
Well, I think we've been on this live stream for quite a while.
Yeah, that's no wonder my phone's like on Zoom.
Oh, I think I just killed your phone.
Weird as a motherfucker. I was like, fuck, what happened? Yeah, it's charging right now, but it's still 0. I thought it was kind of weird. Hey, I think we should end it right now, man. Okay.
All right, we've been at it for a while anyway, but thanks everybody for watching. You have any final words?
I hope my phone is okay. That's the only thing I got said. I love you guys. Not in a gay way, but it could be totally gay.
You shit lord.
Yes, I am. Pakistan is my home country. They're going to deport me because of that.
We need to talk about that sometime. Reinventing Pakistan. We need to reinvent it.
Yes, we need to. I talk to you guys later. I need my phone to charge up. Oh, it's 1% now.
Yeah. All right.
I'll talk to you later.
All right.
See you later.
See ya.
Bye.
All right. So that's fun. But I was going to before I conclude this, I can play a song because this band is so underground they don't actually have any kind of copyright or anything, but it's Beatific Smile. So, and you won't find them on YouTube either, so enjoy this while you can.
She showed up after throwing up a running nose. Did you close on me when I told her I know you grew up screwed up in the 70s? I could tell by the chip on your shoulder now. Of a voluptuous laugh is a sumptuous laugh. Don't try.
Let's do this song. I like this song better. That's not right. What the hell? Here, let's do this one. This one's awesome. I don't understand. These tracks are all mixed up. Here we go.
T-bone all alone,
Smoking a butt, sipping from a bottle. T-bone all alone, licking the bottom and sitting on my butt. I put myself up on the shelf because I have nothing better else to do than sit around and play with myself.
I don't really mind, honey, I do it all the time. Giving myself a chance to moan, and I don't mind being all alone, no sir. Hey now, T-bone's all alone, smoking a button, sipping from a bottle. T-bone all alone, licking the bottle, sitting on my butt. I put myself up on the shelf because I have nothing better else to do than sit around and play with myself. I don't really mind, honey, I do it all the time. Give myself a chance to moan, and I don't mind being all alone, no sir. I don't really mind, honey, I do it all the time. Give myself a chance to grow, and I don't mind being all alone. Hey, I put myself up on the shelf, 'cause I have nothing better else to do but sit around and play with myself.
And there is a punk version of that as well. But with that, I'm out. Have a good night, everybody.